What's going on YouTube? I'm Ben Hover, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top player props in the NFL for the Thanksgiving slate on Thursday. Beautiful time of year, man. Thanksgiving, we get to get together with our families and absolutely ignore them as we degen sweat all of our bets on what is, traditionally one of the best slates of betting for the NFL every single year. Did some digging this morning, and I've got 3 props that I really like for Prizepicks on this 3-game slate, so let's dive right into it. First prop we're going to be taking today is Tony Pollard's fantasy score, currently at 15. It's pretty clear to me right now that at this point, Tony Pollard's role in the offense is fully independent of Ezekiel Elliott's health. In this last Dallas game against Minnesota, we saw Tony Pollard outsnap Zeke 54% to 29%, marking the first time in their respective careers that Tony Pollard played more than Elliott when both backs were healthy. Now, don't get me wrong here, I still expect Zeke to be a major factor in the offense. He still had 15 touches coming off of the injury, and there is evidence to support the theory that Elliott will maintain the short yardage and goal line role for Dallas's offense, but Pollard is legitimately that dude. Cannot be stopped. Dallas has no choice but to recognize how much of a factor he is in their offense, and they're not going to scale him back just because Zeke is back. This dude is a big play waiting to happen in the receiving role especially, right? 6 targets for a second consecutive week in what was a blowout win. That's a huge signal to me that Pollard's receiving role is here to stay long term. It's not just, a game flow factor or anything like that. Not to mention, this is a great matchup against the Giants. The Giants have given up the 5th most rushing yards per game to opposing running backs this season, and they have given up the 2nd most explosive runs. That's runs over 20 plus yards. Between Zeke and Pollard, which of these 2 backs do we think is more likely to break a long run? Come on now, it's Pollard, clear cut. And the reason why I prefer fantasy score just to straight rushing yards or receiving yards with Tony Pollard is because he's running incredibly hot right now with touchdowns. Obviously, that could come down at any time. 6 in his last 3 games, an unsustainable rate. But legitimately, you could take both of his touchdowns off the board in this last game, and he'd still have finished with 24.9 points. You could take 2 touchdowns off of his 3-score game against Chicago. He's still putting up 21.7. TP is a fantasy machine right now. He's hot. I think he's going to stay hot. Cowboys are 9.5-point home favorites against a bad rush defense. I don't think we overthink this one. 15 fantasy points for Pollard is where we are starting. Over, lock that in. In this same game, the over on Darius Slayton 50.5 receiving yards looks extremely strong. I've been a big believer in Darius Slayton, aka Godius's talent, for many years. Coming into the season, though, it looked as if he'd been fully phased out of the offense. But right around week 5, New York kind of realized that they weren't going to get anything out of Kenny Golladay this season. The team had cut bait with Kadarius Toney long before they traded him, and since turning back to Slayton as a primary option on the outside, he's gone over this prop in 5 out of 6 games, 4 out of his last 5. It doesn't hurt that in last week's surprise loss to Detroit, the Giants suffered another blow to their already thin receiving corps when Wan'Dale Robinson tore his ACL. No disrespect to Richie James or anybody else that they're trotting out there, but come on, Slayton is frankly the only wide receiver worth a damn in New York right now. 9.5-point road dogs. The Giants should be chasing points in this spot, and if they're able to generate any type of production from the wide receiver position, it would be shocking to me if Slayton wasn't the source. Over 50.5 on Darius Slayton. My guy Goody is added to the slip. If you guys like this type of content and want to see the Prizepicks videos continue to flow on this channel, make sure you drop a like on the video and sub. We do appreciate it. Thanksgiving, time to be thankful, and we are absolutely, undeniably thankful for everybody who subbed to the channel recently, so thank you. One more prop today, and we have to mix an under in, right? Just absolutely have to. So I like the under here on 17 fantasy points for Dalvin Cook. The Minnesota Vikings, with a fraudulent 8-2 record, now get a home matchup against New England for the final game of this 3-game Thanksgiving slate. 3-point favorites and looking to bounce back after an utterly embarrassing loss to Dallas this past week. The only problem is that this is a primetime game, and what that sets up for is one thing and one thing only, which is a disappointing performance from Kirk Cousins. I like a lot of different things in this game from a straight betting perspective. Teasing the Patriots +3 with the under makes a ton of sense to me, but from a Prizepicks player prop perspective, specifically Dalvin Cook under 17 fantasy points. Look, Dalvin's only gone over this prop in 3 out of 10 games this year, and it would be 2 for 10 if not for a fluky 81-yard touchdown run against Buffalo 2 weeks ago. The Patriots this season once again have an elite defense and have been one of the best teams this year at limiting opposing opposing backs, 6th fewest yards to opposing running backs, 6th fewest receptions to opposing backs, and the stone cold least amount of touchdowns allowed to the position this season. I genuinely do believe that this Dalvin Cook 17 fantasy points line is boosted strictly off of the name Dalvin Cook, off of the name of a superstar running back, and has almost nothing to do with the way that he's been producing recently, because this line would be quite a bit lower if it was based strictly on production and not name value. So the final prop for this Thanksgiving special will be Dalvin Cook under 17 fantasy points. There are a few more props I like, specifically some stuff from the Detroit and Buffalo game. Singletary over looks good. I'm intrigued by different Josh Allen stuff, but I'll be talking about that more in the Discord as the week continues. So if you guys want to see all of the picks we do and not just the ones that we highlight on this YouTube channel, join our free Discord channel. Link for that is in the description to this video. Once again, guys, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and I will be back with more Prizepicks content on this YouTube channel later in the week. Until then, let's stay profitable. Have a great day.